Good morning, everybody. I'm Leonardo from Telecom Italia Sparco. I'm the Vice President for Asia, Africa and Middle East, responsible for the entire portfolio of the company. Just as Stefan asked, Sparkle is our only own subsidiary of Telecom Italia. Is responsible for everything that is international. So we grew up and was born for taking the responsibility of the international demand of the domestic Telecom Italia. So we have a global portfolio selling voice solution, mobile data, of course data services, corporate solution, and of course we are expanding into the data center and cloud. And we try to serve our customer, and our customer is of course based on the wholesale and on the enterprise. I don't want to go more in detail, but let's say I'm available during the discussion today or after the panel.
Good afternoon, I'm Fabrizio from Global Cloud Exchange around the Asia Pacific region. Global Cloud Exchange is a subsidiary of Reliance Communications. Reliance Communication, as you probably all know, is one of the major players in India, both on the wireless and on the fixed line business. You probably see in the news that our mobile business is now going to be merged with another mobile player, Excel. But I mean, our enterprise and data business in India is still fully part of Reliance Communication, and also runs both the global and the domestic enterprise business. What do we do? I mean, Global Cloud Exchange is a global player, both in the wholesale, carrier, and enterprise space. So at global level, our revenue are roughly 50-50 carrier and enterprise. Of course, if we include our domestic India enterprise business, then we're looking more at 75% enterprise and 25% wholesale business globally, including India. So definitely we will have our view during this panel on what is the future of the wholesale/carrier business. But I mean, I don't want to dwell further now, so let Kunubumpan go ahead and introduce herself.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ubonpan from Cat Telecom. Cat Telecom is the incumbent in Thailand. We are still the 100% owned by the government. Our focus is mostly on the wholesale and enterprise and also the government. Since we are still 100% owned by the government, so our main customer, except that wholesale, is the government-based customer. So we have pretty much of everything for the telcos, starting from the mobile service. We are the leading of the MVNO service provider in Thailand. We also provide the traditional transmission service, and also we have the new kind of services like cloud, value-add service, security, and also the other IoT application as a new stream. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Saibal Roy. I head the Asia-Pac part of the region, which includes India, SAARC, and Asia-Pac completely for global business of Bharti Airtel. Bharti Airtel as a company, we are the third largest mobile company in the world with a subscriber base of about 360 million. Which spans from India, that's our home country, and of course Africa. We have got 15 countries in Africa. So around a total 19 countries where we work on, we have our own opcos, which have the voice business available. So our primary business is definitely voice, which is in the mobile segment. Apart from that, we are a 22 years old company. We started our operations in 1995. So we are 22 years young, I would say that way. And what we do is that the major business, of course, is voice, but we also have global business, which we have, if I give you some highlights, we've got 29 cable systems where we have capacities and own cables also, consortium cables. We have from about 225,000 root kilometers of fiber within the country of India. So we have large span there. We have got 150,000 BTSs across in India. So what businesses we do, we also do, apart from mobile, we do enterprise business, which is very big for us, which is roughly to the span of $2 billion as a number. When we talk about the wholesale business, we do around about $1.2 billion in the wholesale business also. So that's where we are as such. Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Nitipong, right, and I work for Tata Communications, heading the Indo-China region. And as the services for Tata, we are one of the largest voice wholesale carrier in the world, and also the largest SCCP provider to the mobile provider around the world. When they roam, most of them use Tata services, along with some community service like IPX and all these A2P application to person delivery. And also we are one of the largest data provider, where we have a large amount of cable capacity that wrap around the world, both private cable and consortium cable. And another business we also do is also related to the enterprise business, which are services such as cloud access and security solution, as well as media platform, which is pretty new, and along with OTT, which is our very new services that's going to be this year.
Great. So I guess to start off, I would like to just ask, how sustainable do you think the current situation in the market is, the current state of the market, given the business lines that you're currently in? Fabrizio, you have strong opinions. How would you characterize this current situation in the market, and how sustainable do you think is the current pattern of demand, price, etc.?
Well, we had an interesting presentation just a few minutes ago, right, on what's going on in the market, or what is the wholesale market, the price decline, and what's happening also in terms of bandwidth increase. I mean, it's certain, what is really true is that, of course, the elevator goes only down in terms of pricing, but there's a lot of demand that is going up. And for us, I mean, we both play in the wholesale and the enterprise market. So we are one of the largest owner of a global network, and of course we feel the pressure in terms of bandwidth pricing decline, but at the same time we're also benefiting from the growth. So what I believe, what is our strategy is to continue to grow our wholesale business, is to focus on markets where we see that the growth will actually be higher than the pace of the price and declining. So as a strategy, as a company, we're focusing a lot on the emerging market corridor, what we define as a corridor that spans from Europe to Middle East to India, Asia Pac, and then back to US. And we see that in this emerging market corridor, there's a lot of potential for growth. If you look at some statistics, right, it's 75% of the world population lives in this emerging market corridor. In the last few years, 5 years, I think there's been a growth of about 1,400% in terms of internet, and we have still about 4+ billion people that are not yet connected. So there is a lot of potential growth. You put up before a slide that shows the data center, the content provider data center in the world. If we add to that also the rest of the data centers that we have in the world, we will see that the majority of them are in the US and in Europe. Asia is still actually quite behind, but if we look at India or China, we're well behind, right? And Middle East, there's very little data center presence. So that's where we believe that the infrastructure in terms of fiber and data center will have to grow, and there's an opportunity to capitalize in sales in this market. Having said that also, there's another part of the business that we focus on, that is the enterprise business. For us, the concept of enterprise means multinational, so companies that need global network, need a global network that has to be delivered and managed by a carrier. And that's today's the majority of our business, both globally and domestically in India. So of course, the fact that there is access to a cheaper bandwidth price is also a benefit for us, because we don't have connectivity everywhere. Although we have a global network, our customer needs diversity, we need global access, we need partners to deliver. and the pressure that brings down the price on the network cost increase our ability to offer more efficient and cost-effective services to our multinational customers.
Yeah, this panel is actually very well structured in that really there's a lot of organizations that have a broad set of products. I've often encountered panels where there's a very limited set where one carrier's products that is very different from that of others, but it's helpful that you guys covered the sort of gamut. How is the shift from voice to, the shift away from voice revenues affecting your organization? Are there other investment opportunities that you see where you can find room for growth in aggregate for your organization? Or do you just need to accept that one of your sources of revenue is going to, over the years, start to decline, and you may not try to offset that, but rather focus on other business areas? Leonardo, why don't you take a stab at that?
Definitely, let's say the voice business is under pressure. Revenue are going down, but also the profitability of the business there is going down, even if there are several opportunities to enlarge and diversify our offer in terms of solution to the operator and the customer, and of course market to be approached and to be addressed. What Telecom Italia Sparkle did is to try to diversify its portfolio and of course leverage on the new solution and new product as data. And as Fabrizio was speaking about, we are trying to focus our presence in some corridor. We make significant investment, not really here in this region in Asia, but of course in Middle East, in Africa, in Latin America, where, as you show in your chart, the demand and the growth and the elevator in terms of request of the capacity is growing up. So we try to diversify, moving from our native business that was the voice up to the new solution in terms of data center and cloud solution that we are offering today in South Europe, some African countries, and of course Latin America.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I can add something to that. Imagine in the past, right? We've been moving voice traffic, okay? People to talk to people. Next, we move data traffic, data stream. However, in the future, what we find that will be growth for the future, for at least Tata, we find that on the end-to-end space, which means that there will be a lot of IoT devices around the world. And the difference of these IoT devices is that usually voice is just people speaking, right? But IoT devices, these are very diverse type of devices. The data set that's involved in sending this data can be different protocol, different either large volume or less volume, right? And these messages that sent to this data stream usually is sent to the centralized information system somewhere, such as those ERP system, SAP, even the business intelligence system. So in order to have a platform that can manage these communication among these end-to-end devices will be a challenge for the future. If someone were to develop their own platform to accommodate this type of traffic, it would be highly, almost impossible. And we believe that that's where the growth, where Tata Communications is entering this space to move towards the future of, instead of just moving voice, moving data, but moving IoT traffic, which will require multi-type of interworking between these devices. And this communication device, it can be like, for example, measurement information or feedback as a configuration. And imagine with a lot of you guys are doing cloud service, right? So companies are moving from the enterprise cloud to more of a public or private cloud from the providers like you guys. So imagining how IoT device happen to communicate with the internal information system that are on the cloud. So this will be a new challenge for the future that we believe we will enter into this space as a growth to compensate for the voice reduction.
Mm-hmm. Saiba, you're nodding.
Yeah, I agree with Nitipong. In fact, classically in the wholesale space, what actually has been happening is voice and data, which is a very zero-down, zero-type product which we've always been selling in the wholesale space. And if I may say this word which he talked about, my friend, that voice is under pressure. I think from 2000 I've been hearing the statement, voice is under pressure. And it is still continuing, the same manner, similar manner is under pressure. But each time we do not desist from doing voice, we always do voice continuously because it is making some money also. So only challenge is how do we make money in that, that's the basic perspective. So I'm sure there are various ways and means which the carriers are working on. Of course I do agree that the entire thing is moving on to the IoT space, where the IoT enabled platform is a very, very important tool which we need to digress into. The cloud, and of course the integration of public and private cloud, which is again what is the wholesale space in that is yet to be looked into. But that is ultimately, if you see for any wholesale successful organization, enterprise is successful, then only the wholesale is successful. It's an interlinked, intertwined step which is there. So that particular thing, cloud has become no more, it's not an abrupt thing, it is completely a reality now, and we need to perhaps monetize that. And how do we make this particular thing happen? Maybe we will have to crack that particular piece. It is there, that's what I can see, it's around the corner.
Yeah, actually for CAT that we sit in the middle of CRV, if we're talking about last year, we think that a voice from CRV should be a promising kind of the revenue. But surprisingly, last year, the quality of the internet service in CRV is improving. So it decreasing the traditional voice demand from times to times. So we are trying to shift from the model of the IDD business from the traditional, from the demand in CRV to the new partner that introduced the IoT model to CAT. So we are studying and trying to support the model of the voice business from the IoT carriers that approach to us. And except that we are open up for the exchanging of the business between voice and data as well. Even though sometimes it's quite hard to match the model of the business together, we are trying with some carriers, but we still hope that to combine all the business of the telecom together. We think that the voice business is still maintained for us since there is the demand and also the promising of the HD voice. So we are looking forward to the new technologies like the HD voice, the IPX. We will see that these kind of technologies will help the voice revenue or not.
Yeah, yes, certainly voice is not going to go away, but it's becoming an ever smaller part of the revenue mix for a lot of carriers. And in case it's any comfort to you, it is also a smaller share of telegeography's revenues these days. So I take no particular pleasure in discussing the challenges of the voice market as the guy who's in charge of our voice research line. As far as we've heard a lot of talk about dumb pipes and not wanting to be dumb pipes or just a data pipe. Are there meaningful ways for differentiating a data pipe or differentiating the services that you offer to your customers? Are your customers asking for something different? I'm curious what your thoughts are on that question of the dumb pipe versus some sort of differentiated data services. Is it that you're looking? Is it that there are really a new set of services that you're rolling out? For example, for IoT, or is it more of the same basic connectivity solutions that you're offering?
So actually, if I say something about the dumb pipe, actually I would love to see it's a dumb pipe, but the expectation from the customer is not a dumb at all, because sometimes the SRA that they give to us is 5.9 for the submarine cable system, which is opposite of the real world situation of the subsea, right? So it's impossible to accept that kind of the SRA, but we have to. So the reality is that we have to find another route for the submarine system to back up it together. The traditional subsea is just a simple route. So as the wholesale carrier provider, we have to find a partner to match and try to protect the submarine system to the customer. So this is the new expectation from the wholesale customer to CAT, that they need a very high SLA for this kind of dumb pipe. So we have to adapt and find a new partner to to help on this one.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's very good. I think what we try to add into the dump pipe, what you call it, is probably an enhance of the dump pipe. For example, because a lot of people are using cloud services now, right? So with this, instead of just a dump pipe, we probably add direct access into some cloud services like AWS, SoftLayer, Google, or even Alibaba. So I think this kind of enhancement will give some kind of quality of service into this cloud service that the customer will see the differentiation between the traditional dump pipe versus the kind of a managed access into the specific cloud service, which will be targeted towards the enterprise or even tradition for the user itself.
Yeah, and certainly, especially when you're looking at cloud services, they can be very latency sensitive, and that can create some issues when you're trying to, say, compare prices of ISPs and say, well, HENet is cheaper, but there could very well be some issues in terms of how that traffic is routed and latency and how many networks it has to hop over to get to the cloud. So how is cloud, what kind of opportunities does cloud create for carriers? You mentioned obviously direct connects, to cloud providers, which is very much an enterprise type of business service. What other opportunities do cloud services create for telcos? Leonardo, how about you first?
Of course, the cloud means connectivity. So the growth of these services will allow us as a telco operator to provide our connectivity services and utilize and provide a full diversified solution and protection solution to link the cloud. That means also the data center business. This is where we are approaching, and we grew up from our experience in Greece, Turkey, and Sicily. We are now launching the new data center and cloud solution out of Sicily, within the Sicily app. So we try to leverage on this increase of demand. And Sicily is the closest point to Europe for Middle East and Asia.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I hear all of you mentioning data centers. In the US, there's been a lot of talk of telcos getting out of the data center business. Can I see a show of hands? How many of you think your company is going to get out of the data center business, or think that you need to be out of the data center business?
Well, we are not getting out of the data center business. So our main data center business is basically in India, though. I mean, it's domestic India or domestic market. We have large IDCs there. We are definitely not getting out of the data center business. The main reason is because at the end of the day, in the future, in the next 10 years, what all these new products and new services, the IoT, what they will need, it will be fiber and data center space. Data center space to host all the servers for the computing and the storage that is needed to have all this machine-to-machine communications, or to deliver all the cloud services to the enterprise. Then you will need the fiber that interconnect all these data centers, and volumes of bandwidth that will be higher and higher. So it's true, there is a trend where the market seems to become more and more specialized. I mean, you see like Verizon got out of the data center business in the US to focus more on the mobile business. You see a lot of the big data center providers that are making acquisition to grow on a global scale, like Equinix or Digital Realty. And in terms of but I also see that the carriers, especially in their domestic market, they're still investing quite a lot in IDC and in data centers. I think this is the case for us, Telecom Italia, I guess for Bharti or CET, right? And Tata as well. So data center will be very central for the future of the business. And I mean, we have probably we can call the dump pipe, the dump space, right? But at the end of the day, this will be the fabric where you need to build the future. So what you will deliver to your end customers, whether they are retail or enterprise. And what we believe will be the winning combination will be to have not only the infrastructure, so the data center space or the fiber, but also the orchestration layer.
I'm sorry, what?
The orchestration. Because without, the ability then to orchestrate and to make sure that the end devices, the network, the service platform, the applications are all there and communicated properly to each other, then we will only have dump pipe and dump space, right?
I think I think the combination, Fabrizio has been talking about, the combination of the dump pipe and the data center is extremely high, and that's the basic backbone of the network which is created. On the overlay, you create your cloud and whatever you want to do and further. So data center, if I may say, if I talk about India, it is exploding. It is on the very, very high rate. The growth rate is extremely high. I think that is the highest growth rate what we have in the enterprise data products in the country today.
Data centers.
Yes, and if I may say, if I see all the OTTs, they are exploding all over the place, and there is a lot of traffic which is coming into the country, and I see that we are going into various cities within the country where there is a paucity of space, if I may say that. Power is a problem, the space is a problem, and we are actually the demand is much higher compared to the available space. So there is basically a paucity there is a difference between the demand and the what is available as the situation which is there as the capacity. So how do we meet that? That's the basic challenge. So I think this is one space which is definitely grow by leaps and bounds further also. That's where we are as in the country, and I'm experiencing wherever the incumbent nations are, which I keep talking to other operators also, it is exploding the other places also in the similar manner.
Yeah, and for Thailand, I see that the supporting of the government is quite a key role to improving the cloud demand in Thailand, and also I believe that in also the CRV area is also the same thing. So actually in Thailand, I see that there are two segments of the demand of data center, one from the enterprise or the government. So they might combine all the service together for the carriers. But another segment is the wholesale demand. That one, we have to propose the neutral data center. That is something that is a trend of the content service provider that want to come to CRV. They are looking for the data center that is quite neutral. So carrier like CAT have a bit some kind of not so interesting for them when we propose the data center, because they believe and trust that we are not the neutral enough for them, even though we try to tell them so. So that is one interesting segment of the data center, which is in Thailand, is there is not kind of the neutral data center that quite big like in Singapore or Hong Kong yet. So there will be a new demand for the content that come to CRV, that they're looking for this kind of data center.
Just want to add, actually Tata sold a big portion of the data center out to a Singapore company. But we're still, instead of moving towards traditional co-location, we're kind of moving more towards the cloud service more. For example, even though we sell the data center business, but we are heavily invested in like security cloud solution for the enterprise, or other things like the media streaming platform as a service, as a cloud. So we are more moving towards the application layer for the cloud for the end user, as opposed to traditional co-location space. That's where we are moving towards.
Well, this is, Fabrizio, I'll let you finish. You were just listening to the microphone. I'll let you finish what you're going to say. And after that, we'll have to wrap up.
Okay. Well, I mean, we talked about quite a few interesting issues, right? And I like the comment that the committee was making, that Tata is moving from co-location to more cloud-based data center services, which I believe what's happening for everybody. I mean, co-location, actually I remember when we all started about 15 years ago looking at these big new submarine cables, and we're thinking about just co-location centers, right? Where we need a bunch of racks, equipment, to host equipment to connect all these networks. Now co-location is probably, what, maybe 2-3% of the business in data center. The majority of the data center business now derives from enterprise customers, derives from what is the cloud services, so all the services that you need to host them. And I mean, cloud has already redefined our business, and it's going to redefine it even more, right? So as a company, we look at cloud as the best way of offering something new to our enterprise customers. We don't look at cloud as a way to compete with the Amazon or the Microsoft of this world, but we look at it as an opportunity to offer connectivity to the market, secure, reliable connectivity to the cloud providers, and also to launch new services. So we'll be launching soon, in a couple of months, what we call the Cloud X1, that is an SD-WAN cloud-based service to provide again to our multinational customer more flexibility and more money, basically, more value for the money that they spend on their access network. So we started with down pipe, we're finishing the cloud. I'm not sure you want to better wrap it up.
It's not that I want to. I have many questions I actually wanted to ask, and I have to say also, I really don't feel that the pipes are very dumb. I think a pipe that has good routing and low latency is something to be treasured, not scoffed at. I think there's a lot of kicking around of this, but I think most corporate IT departments know the difference and know the value of good routing and reliable service. So
I want to make them dumb because then they want to make them cheaper. But reality is that you need them, right?
I have many more questions, like I said, that I'd like to have gotten to, but unfortunately we're out of time, and Regina's going to yell at me if I go over, and I cry easily. So I'm going to have to wrap it up now, but I'd like to thank you all for your time and your insights, and call up our next set of panelists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.